In today's video, we're going to look at my 10 favourite watercolour techniques for getting sort of an autumn or winter or fall look to your paintings. So the first thing you don't want is a cat. A cat will cause all sorts of problems, and here's one causing me all sorts of filming problems. I'm going to try and persuade him to look out of the window while I film. So I live in a quiet village and nothing ever happens, but Gimlet does love to look out of the windows. He enjoys staring at nothing for hours on end. So in today's video, I'm going to show you some of my favourite techniques for getting that kind of gothic-y, wintry, icy feel to some of your paintings. So let's get started with the first. Winter trees can be somewhat difficult to paint because they've got so many lines on them. Pen and wash can be a great technique for this. So my first autumn-winter technique is pen and wash. So just to add extra atmosphere today, I have arranged for it to be the depths of winter, so the light's very bad. We're about 4 days out from our shortest day of the year here in the UK, and it does get dark before 4 p.m. I've got some Daler-Rowney FW acrylic ink here, and it comes with a little pipette, and I'm going to pop some in here, which is going to make it easier for me to avoid making drips. So with a small amount in here, it enables me to dip my dip pen in without getting a ton of ink on the back of it. And I can also work quite close to the paper here. I do have much longer videos showing you all about how to create pen and wash paintings. You don't have to use ink like this. You can use a permanent liner pen. It does need to be permanent because we're going to put some watercolor on top. Whenever I've got anything that's got lots of lines, like maybe a boat or winter trees, you don't have to do them in ink, but it is something I'll consider doing. And what I like to say is that ink should be used intentionally. In other words, you should choose to use ink from the beginning. I don't like it when people are doing a watercolor and then just try and rescue their work with ink halfway through because their tonal contrast is not good enough. But nothing wrong with making a decision to use ink. You can use a permanent liner pen. And what a lot of people don't know is that actually a ballpoint pen is usually permanent ink as well. So you can have a go at this technique even if you haven't got any special art pens on hand. Now, because I'm using ink here, what I can also do is take a paintbrush, and with a little clean water, I can, if I want to, just spread a tiny bit of shadow along, because this ink only becomes permanent once it's fully dry. And using a dip pen like this gives a much more sensitive line. It's a line that starts thick and goes thinner, and so you get a much more painterly effect. I'm going to put a little bit more ink on before we look at our next tip or technique. So I'm going to do all of today's techniques on the same piece of paper, whether they deserve to be there or not. It'll give a fun effect. And the next one is some colours, actually. We're going to look next at the Perylene colours. Now, ignoring the fact that I've just managed to burn the tip of my finger because I'm making bread at the same time as filming today. And if you haven't checked out my second YouTube channel where I do cooking and sewing and a bit of everything really, just somewhere to put everything that's not art, I'll leave a link in the video description. What we're going to do now is play with some Perylene colours. Now, the Perylenes are very gothic sort of colours. I've got one here that's called Perylene Black Green Shade. This is a Jackman's paint, and another one here which is also Jackman's. They're just in these little manufacturer's sample pots, and this is a Perylene Violet, which some of you may have. Now, if you've got those really weird colours, if you've bought something sparkly from Daniel Smith and you've never really used it and you just don't know what to do with it, a winter or autumn or nighttime painting is perfect. So I'm going to put some black up the top and some violet lower down. Sounds a bit crazy, I know, but the black really isn't black at all. I'm going to start by wetting my paper. I'm going to take some water down to the horizon line. Here's where you find out if your ink is actually dry. Not bad so far. Make sure you don't have too much excess water on the paper. You just want it to be nicely damp. I do have some stuff I want to put lower on the horizon, so I'm just going to take this Perylene Black up the top here, just a small amount, and you'll see the damp surface is softening it. I'm also going to wipe around the edge. This is not stretched paper because I'm just showing a few techniques here. If I was doing a proper painting, I certainly would stretch my paper. A little bit of a drip there. We're not going to worry when things like that happen. Leave a bit of a sort of a slightly white gap there because I like it. And I'll just spread this colour down here. You see, it's no problem at all. This next technique was taught to me by a student years ago. I've shown it before here on YouTube and it can be used at any time of year, but I find it gives a particularly sort of atmospheric wintry evening look. I've got a coin here that I've wrapped in a couple of layers of paper towel, and what I'm going to do is just press down and lift up. This is a great technique for getting a really hazy, natural looking sun or moon. You can even, if you want to, take a few lines across, add to that kind of Dracula's out tonight feel. Dark or sunset trees can often look in photographs like they're just black, but it's a big mistake to do them in black. So my next technique involves using dark but colourful colours. So let's talk about using colourful darks. This is something I do all the time in sunset paintings. I'll usually choose a colour I've already used, perhaps for the sunset. Now, there's no rule about this. I could have used the Perylene Violet. It's certainly strong enough, or the Perylene Black blue shade. I could use an indigo. I could use a lovely dark burnt umber. Any colour that goes dark enough can be used to create colourful darks in your painting. And I've got Prussian blue here that are just going to give it so much more interest than using a black. I'm going to paint my tree trunks with this Prussian blue, so we don't have that hard, dead black colour. Instead, we have these lovely colourful darks. Here's a little trick for giving a little bit of extra life to your autumn trees. So although it looks like I'm just creating a landscape here, I will be doing one or two other basic techniques at the front here. So don't be too disappointed if it looks a little bit disjointed. I'm trying to make it look like a finished painting. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some foliage along underneath the trees as if I were painting perhaps some bushes. I've got some sap green here. Now I can darken it with a little of the Prussian if I want to. And you particularly want to darken towards the base. But one thing I really love to do with autumn and winter paintings is just to drop a little red into my work. Now there's two types of red I generally choose for this. I've got some oxide red here. Yours might be called light red or Venetian red or Indian red. The other choice you could use would be something like the madder crimson reds. They work well too. It depends what kind of effect you're looking for, and it'll neutralize slightly as it hits the green, red and green being opposite colours, but you'll get that kind of autumn winter muted look. I'm going to put a few more in along the horizon here, adding touches of my red oxide. So I'm filming this just before Christmas, and I always have an annual sale on my watercolour and drawing courses. My online courses will all be 30% off from Boxing Day, that's the 26th of December, through to the early part of January. And if you've never taken an online course before and the idea is a little bit scary to you, I do encourage you to grab one of my free courses below. It's not a trick, there's nothing to worry about, it's completely free. I give you these free courses in order that you may understand that the courses are good value and will help you along your painting and drawing journey. So why not grab one of those, see how it all works, and then you can take advantage of my Boxing Day sale. You'll find out about all of my sales in either my weekly newsletter or my Facebook group. You'll find all the details for those in the video description. Now let's go back to our winter painting techniques. Have you ever seen a landscape where there's a little bit of snow on the ground, but also there's lots of tiny bits of the ground peeping through the snow? This next technique captures this effect perfectly. So whilst I had the green and the red, I mixed together here and got a little bit of pathway in. I've got here some more of the Perylene Violet and I've mixed it with the Prussian blue. I'd normally use something a bit brighter for snow shadows, but I want to stick with the palette I'm using and get that moody nighttime look. And in order to get that ground peeping through the snow, I'm going to use a touch of oil pastel. So when you're making snow, it's really important actually that you do leave plenty of white paper, although this is nighttime, so there would be a lot more shadow. So I'm going to pop just a bit of this oil pastel on. You'll notice that it catches the top bumps of the paper, but not all of it. So you get this kind of gappy look, which actually is perfect for ground peeping through snow. I want to fade out towards the base here and make room for my other techniques. So I'm just applying clean water across the bottom. Now, sometimes you can find that your brush will pick up a little bit of the oil pastel, so it's important to use an old brush. I'll come in places as well with clean water. Nothing captures the effect of sparkly ice and crystals as much as the salt technique. Let's do this one next. So whilst my paint is still wet here, what I'm going to do is sprinkle in some sea salt. So you want the type of salt with the large grains like this, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on mostly in the foreground. Try not to have it too evenly spaced, and a little further back. Does work well as well just to put a little bit of extra colour in by dripping some wet paint where those salt grains are. They'll need to dry for a considerable time, probably overnight. Here in the UK in the autumn, particularly in the mornings, there are spiders' webs everywhere covered in ice crystals or dewdrops. We're going to use masking fluid to get this effect. So I'm going to create my spider's web in masking fluid. So I've drawn a little sketch and I've got some masking fluid here. Because one of you will ask me, this is a ruling pen that I'm using to apply it with. Now, I really don't like using a ruling pen to apply masking fluid. It's not a bad tool, but I actually prefer using an embossing tool. Mine disappeared several weeks ago. Now, it must be in the house somewhere. Question is, do I, over the Christmas holidays, turn my entire house upside down looking for it? I'm a very tidy person, which if you're a tidy person, you know that that's worse, because on the occasion when you do lose something, it means that you've done something completely crazy, like put it in the microwave and wandered off. Now you'll notice I'm using a kind of dotted effect here, and all I'll do is allow this to dry before popping some paint on this front corner. I'll probably use some foliage type greens, maybe a few touches of the Perylene Violet too. Now, just while that masking fluid's drying, I'm in an R about whether to put any colour in my moon here, because what you can do is you can put a pale wash of something in there like yellow, but I've already got quite a bit of purple going over it, and if I put yellow on top, it'll go brown, which isn't what I want, but I do feel like I want to highlight it a bit. Now, the bottom, I quite like the whiteness here, but I think I'm going to put a tiny touch of this bright cobalt turquoise over the top. And so what I'm going to do is just take it up here. That's way darker than I want it, but let's not panic. I'm just going to add some clean water here, and we'll just give it a little bit of emphasis. Do you know, I quite like that. So I've drawn a few leaf shapes in the front because we're going to do something fun with those in a moment. Now, I don't want really too much of a hard edge here. I'm going to add some strong foliage colours in here. I'm going to paint around the leaves, but I'll paint straight across the top of the masking fluid. It's almost dry. If I start this side, by the time I get over here, that should be dry. Again, make sure your masking fluid is completely dry, otherwise you'll end up with it on your brush, and that is not a good thing, even for an old brush. So I'm going to grab just this colour I already had in here, and we'll add some green, and I'll start getting some nice dark greens. I'm going to paint the leaves light green in a moment, so I'll just go around them. We've ended up with a colour that's very similar actually to the Perylene black, and it's a good idea to add other colours in and just get some variation going on. I'm going to allow the water levels here to be uneven, possibly even going back and dropping in some other colours, taking my clean water across this area here. Now, as we add damp paint here, what should happen is we should get a little bit of bleeding upwards, which should give us a bit of a jagged edge, so we can drop our colours in like this and allow them bleed upwards. Let's pop some blue in as well. As I get over here, I'll come straight across with some dark. Again, I don't want it to look like this around here. So what we'll do instead is we'll take some clean water across here so that the colour just softens in. When we take the masking fluid off, it's going to be white down here, so we really need to make sure this corner here is nice and dark. Again, taking clean water across here so as not to get too much of a hard edge. And all this needs significant drying time. We're going to move on with our next technique, but at the end of the picture, you'll see me take off both the salt and the masking fluid. What about a little bit of falling snow? It's not forbidden. We're going to use a touch of white paint. So I'm going to make some snow now, but I only want it in certain places because it's getting far too busy, this picture. I really only want it in the sky, sort of above the horizon line, and I don't want it on the moon here. So I've got some titanium white gouache here. Sometimes it's labelled as watercolor, but you preferably want the titanium white rather than the zinc white or the Chinese white, which is kind of a mixture of the two. This one will give you the most coverage, but of course you can experiment with any. Now, in order to mask off my little moon, the easiest thing would just be to use my coin again. Chuck it on top like that. I'm now going to mask off here, and I'm going to use some paper. And what you want to do is make sure you've got a torn edge, because if you have a cut edge, you'll end up with a very straight line. It'll really notice if you don't line it up properly with the horizon. And of course, I can mask off any other areas. I'm not going to worry too much about these side bits here. If I get a bit on the board, I'm not fussed. So what we'll do now is we'll just dip in. You can add a tiny drop of water if it's necessary, but try it without first. All I'm going to do is grab my thumb and pull backwards as I point it down at the paper. Yeah, that's not working, so I'll add some water. Hard to take water out, but you can always add it in. So let's make it a bit wetter and try again. If you haven't done this before, it's a good idea to practice on a scrap first. And here I'm getting the exact result I wanted. Sometimes you'll find that the wetter the paint, the larger the droplets you'll get. Don't overdo it too much. I'm happy with that. And let's have some wintry leaves in the foreground. And I've got a clever trick with watercolor pencils. Now, I've actually left this painting overnight, so hopefully the light's a bit better for you as well. Before I show you the last winter technique that I love, I'm going to remove this salt. We're just going to brush it off, and I'm also going to remove the masking fluid. I can just use my fingers. If I had a larger amount, I'd probably use a firm eraser. So for my last technique, I'm going to use a watercolor pencil. I'm going to paint these leaves down here, and I'm going to use the pencil for the leaf veins, but I could equally use a watercolor pencil into wet paint for doing maybe some grasses in the foreground. Now, if I went into this wet leaf with a paintbrush with some red paint, all that would happen would be the leaf would turn brown because the colours would instantly mix together. But we can get some really beautiful fall and winter effects by going in with a red pencil. I've got a terracotta here because it matches some of the other colours I've used. So this will be some kind of red oxide pigment, but you could also use some lovely crimson reds. I'll do the other ones, then that's my little picture finished. I'm actually really happy with this combination of colours. I've half a mind to work it into a larger painting on proper paper that's actually been stretched so it won't go bumpy. Let me know what you think. Do let me know in the comments if you enjoyed these techniques, and don't forget I have a full winter challenge playlist here on YouTube. It's completely free, and if you sign up you can also get the free downloadable stuff that goes along with it, the PDFs and the photographs from my online course website. Don't forget to have a look in that video description before you go. I'll put a link up now to the winter challenge playlist, and I'll also pop it in the video description so you can get started on completing your own winter paintings.